one.
All right, welcome to Combat Sports, folks. This is a special episode. We've got Coach Extraordinaire on, Coach Durwyn Lamb from Lamb Striking Academy, folks. Durwyn, I'm assuming you're in Vegas right now. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing, man?
Can't complain at all, man. I'm so excited to have you on the show, bruh. I've
I
followed you
appreciate it.
for quite some time now, man, and I've really been looking forward to speaking to you. I've seen you from time to time in different places, but now to actually be able to have a conversation with you, man, I'm really excited. So,
Thank you so much. It means a lot to me.
all right, all right. So, with the interview, man, basically, I just want to go through and talk about some things, find out some things maybe that you're interested in talking about. We share some common things from what I understand. You're born in June, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah,
You're
June
you're
9th.
you're Gemini.
Yeah, I am.
Well, I'm a fellow Gemini as well. I was born June
Oh,
11th,
cool.
bro.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
it figures, man. But tell me something. How'd you first become interested in martial arts as a whole, man? Tell me a little, or combat sports in general.
It's a family thing. I started when I was a kid. My mother was a karate fighter. My dad was a karate fighter. My stepdad, they were all fighters, man. And my uncles were boxers. My cousins were boxers. So it was just a part of the family thing. And at an early age, I was going to the karate schools in Fort Worth. Back then, karate didn't cost that much. So my mom uh, was her instructors were the guys that was the pioneers of the guys that created the Texas, what we call what we founded the American Black Belt Academy, and Alan Steen and Pat Burleson. One of my mom's instructor was Pat Burleson, which is one of the co-founders of the American Black Belt Academy, up under June Ree. June Ree is a Korean martial artist, 10th Dan in Korean Taekwondo. Actually, June Ree actually was a guy that actually fought and sparred Bruce Lee. When he came to the United States, he created the American Black Belt Academy in California, Texas, and Washington D.C. And so we was one of the first states that got it. So that kind of started with that, and my dad and my uncles were all a part of that lineage. And so that's how it happened, man. I was just a kid. If you would have told me 35 years ago that I would have been in martial arts, I didn't know. I was just one of those kids that was always in the karate gym or in a boxing gym with my family, not knowing it was going to be a part of my life.
Wow, man. So, I mean, literally, your family is steeped in the tradition itself. Then, so
Oh
it's
yeah, God, yeah, yeah.
what type of karate did you practice? What type of karate background did you
Well,
come
I,
from?
I did Taekwondo, and then we did, my dad and my uncle found a system under the Japanese style, Ushiru, and then Okinawa style karate. And they
Yeah.
created their own style called Maka, which is Modern American Karate Academy, is where I first started. But they study all different styles. Tang Soo Do. My dad was a wrestler, a black belt in judo. He was a catch wrestler, all those things back in the day. So they just a lot of the style that they came up with had to do with um, all that in one setting, which was, but it stems from the Japanese style of karate, and then
So
Korean style taekwondo.
you were basically legitimately a mixed martial artist from birth.
Yeah,
Then, I mean,
before,
technically, I mean,
yeah,
all right.
before it actually got big, I was we did that. So
What I was gonna say, you mentioned an Okinawan karate style. Was it Shotokan or?
it was it's Shotokan and Ushiru. Yes.
Bro, we have so much in common. I started originally in Shotokan karate as well.
Oh wow.
So
Yeah.
yeah, man, from way back in the day. Cattle Wars over in Greenville, Mississippi, were who I trained under. So
Oh wow.
all right, yeah, all right. Um, look, I guess a little bit more about your training itself. How did you transition from, say, karate styles and things like that, growing up in that family, over into actual mixed martial arts or combat sports itself, actually taking on fights in the ring or in the cage?
Yeah. So what happened is through the years I had a good style of kicking, and then as I got a little older, I got a little older. Um, at a young age, I got into boxing, and so what I did was I liked the boxing style of hands, and I took the boxing and the martial arts and the karate, and then that's how I became a kickboxer. I started kickboxing at a younger age. Back in that day, they had the continuous fighting, which led up to what full contact kickboxing is today.
Right.
And so when I started kickboxing, and when I started kickboxing, I was more. I actually won an amateur world title in full contact kickboxing in 2008. So, and then I did start doing Muay Thai about 15 years ago. Had a few Muay Thai fights, and so to bring up to date is what my coaching style is, because I had a Taekwondo background, 5th degree black belt in karate, and also 3rd degree black belt in Taekwondo. So what I did was take the styles karate, Taekwondo, boxing, and Muay Thai, and it just all fitted into the system that I teach and the system that my style of fighting is what it happened. I had a couple of pro boxing fights as well too. So.
Hey, what is the fried pickles too?
I was gonna say, I noticed that, and when you look at the style of fighting that Kevin has right now, is that indicative of your style itself? When I see Kevin fight, I see all these elements from different martial arts. I see like kung fu, I see karate and different things. And is a lot of that pulled from you, from training with you?
You said what now?
Is a lot of that pulled from your style, from the Lamb striking style itself?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I did when I said the Lamb striking system.
Yeah.
It's the creation of it's almost like the Bruce Lee style that I adopted. Bruce Lee style. I adopted Bruce Lee style of a way of thinking, as far as understanding that every style has some weak points, every style has some good points, and I just thought that if I'm to be a fighter and I wanted to coach and I wanted to have somebody do things well and right, I want to take the best things of everything and then just kind of create that style in that particular situation.
Okay. Your Muay Thai training. Tell us a little bit about, I guess, how you got into Muay Thai at all. How'd you first come across Muay Thai?
Well, actually, man, it was a guy, a friend of mine that I worked with years ago, Nathan Bagme. He's quite a bit younger than me. Probably in his early 30s now, but quite a bit younger than me. Huh?
I'm sorry. Durwyn, your camera's shaking a little bit. Can you steady that? Okay. There you go. Yeah.
Nathan Bagby is a guy that was training with a guy named Steve Goen. Steve Goen, the Pitman. Steve, the Pitbull Goen, was a guy that fought for world titles, and he was a good kickboxer. Now, he also was also a guy that trained with my dad and my uncle in that lineage of the martial arts back in the day. So when I met up with Nathan, we was training together, and actually Steve, the old school guy, kickboxer, was actually my cornerman for a few fights when I was fighting kickboxing. And then what happened was Nathan started training at New World Combat, a guy named Francisco, legit Muay Thai guy, one of the only Fairtech certified Muay Thai guys in the state of in our area. Yeah. And so I started going to the gym with him. I was already well equipped with skill sets and stuff, but I just wanted to add to it with Muay Thai and the knees and elbows and stuff. And so I started training over there with this guy who used to coach Guy Mesker. He was actually a Muay Thai coach for Guy Mesker and Trey Trillman and all those guys, and also even worked with Travis Luter, who is Kevin Holland's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach, which Kevin is actually a black belt under Travis Luter now. But that guy was training with those guys and taught Muay Thai with him. And I started training with him and became good friends with him. And he was working my corners for a few fights. And that's how that happened with the Muay Thai thing, as far as my situation with that.
Okay. All right, man. Man of many arts altogether. A true legit mixed martial artist, man. I love it. So I want to go back into your history as a fighter itself. A lot of our viewers may not be as familiar with you, or just may not know you as a fighter, man. Can you give us some of your history as a fighter?
Yeah, I mean, I was kickboxing in a time where it wasn't, where social media wasn't big, and we didn't film fights or videotape fights. I fought a lot of times in my area in Texas. Steve Armstrong, who's a old school martial artist. I
Yes.
fought a couple of times on his fight nights. You can see it's a lot of the guys that's in the UFC today, or some of the guys that they also started fighting in his arena. So I fought a few times at Steve Armstrong. Fought a lot of times in West Texas was a big time with Tommy Alcazar, old school martial artist, and then what's his name, James. I can't remember James' last name, but old school karate guys. They would throw shows, and we would fight. Not underground. I mean, they were sanctioned fights, but you got to realize back then, through the ISKA deal, you had to. It was funny because back then you had to record your fights on a card, and you have to write your fights down on the card and the date of your fights on a card that they gave you with a pencil, and you have to lock in your opponent, the time you night, and the result of your fight. So what's funny is, what people don't understand is that back then was that there was no like the Google thing where you could like search people's fights and stuff. Guys can have 40 fights and you wouldn't know.
You'd never
Because
know.
that's the way it was. And you bring that card. If you lost it, you got another. Almost like USA Boxing. You take your book everywhere and they record your fights and stuff like that off the thing. That's how it was. And so we had some fights there. I've had one amateur MMA fight, and I've had only 2 pro MMA fights. And I've had 5 amateur Muay Thai fights and 10 full contact kickboxing fights. So, and I was coaching in MMA and those things when there was a time when MMA wasn't really that popular. So I was coaching MMA about 2005. But in Texas, it wasn't just so huge and big like that yet. So I was taking my guys to Louisiana. And it was kind of, you could get away with some things over there. I was also matchmaking for the promoter at the time for those fights, and so that's where it was. I'm 44 years old, man. My first pro boxing fight, I was 34, 35 years old. You know what I'm saying? So, but I had been skill set training boxing. I had a few amateur boxing fights when I was younger. Not a whole pedigree like a lot of those guys did, but I've been training in this stuff since I was 6 years old, man. It's been a long time. So that's how that went. I do wish that that I had a chance to, when the UFC and all that stuff got big, I do wish that I had a chance to get involved with that at that time when it got real big, because I think I'd have been a really good, a valid competitor in the UFC. I was ahead of my time as far as skill set because I've been training so long and I was around guys that were really like great martial artists. So I wish I would have had that chance and I didn't, but that's okay. I've had some experience in the ring, and now it's just for me to take those old school tradition and just hopefully I can, as I've been, and put it into the guys that I train now.
So moving into the next spot about that, you talked about how, your period of fighting was from some time ago. How did you transition into coaching? Like what number one, what made you want to become a coach?
Well, I actually really didn't, to be honest with you. I became a coach by almost a default thing. When I was training for fights, y'all there?
Yeah, we're here. You're
okay.
Shaking a little bit, but we're here.
I'm sorry. When I was training for fights, my ex-wife at the time was kickboxing with me, and my stepson, who's now 26, was kickboxing with me. And when we was living in Dallas at the time, I'm from Fort Worth, but we was living in Dallas at the time. I moved to Dallas to be with my ex-wife at the time, and we was moving back to Fort Worth, and she continued to want to fight. When we got to Fort Worth, my stepson wanted to continue to fight, but he only wanted me to coach him. And so I was coaching him, and that's how I built my amateur boxing team, as well as my amateur MMA team and kickboxing team at the time. Simultaneously, I had all of them going on. And then what happened was my ex-wife said that she wanted to fight. And she was probably like 31 years old at the time, but she said she wanted to be a boxer. And I, one of my old boxing coaches, Juan Franco, Puerto Rican guy, his son was on the Olympic boxing team, Puerto Rican Olympic boxing team. He actually was my coach, and he saw something in my wife. He's like, man, she should fight. And I was like, no, there's no way. And he's like, no, she should fight. So I brought it to her. I said, you want to box? She goes, yes, I would love to box. I've always wanted to be a boxer. Her brother was a good amateur boxer back in the day. Her mom was in traditional martial arts, so she kind of had a little background there. And she had a couple of kickboxing fights as well, and she wanted to box. So I started training her. She wanted me to train her, so I started training her, and she turned pro. No amateur fights, she turned pro. And within a few fights, she got ranked in the top 10 in the United States. And then that's how I was building my team from there. With the boxing, I had a good pro boxing team at the time. I had a good stable of pro boxers, probably about 6 guys. And then that's how that happened, man. I started coaching like that, and I just kind of like fell in love with it. I guess because I love people, so I fell in love with coaching because I like people, man. So it was cool coaching. I like seeing guys win, and I liked seeing the people that I was training um, achieve their goals, and it made me feel good to see them smile and it made me happy. So that's kind of how that took off with that.
Bro, when I hear you detail like your family history involved in martial arts, and then I hear not only your father's brothers and uncles were involved in martial arts, you married a woman who was a fighter, stepson is a fighter. I know you've got some other children who may or may not be interested in fighting. It almost sounds like you have a legacy, like you've built almost like a Gracie legacy, except it's the Lamb legacy, man. Are you like sharing your, I guess, your lineage with your fighters? Like,
Yeah, I'm trying. It's weird, man. I was one of those guys that just never looked at trying to build like this different kind of legacy, but I love being able to help the guys, man. And the things that was taught to me and the stuff that I've learned over the years, I just wanted to put it in them, and I like seeing um, them achieve those things. And
yeah.
so that's what it was, man. I mean, I love like coaching and seeing like the stuff that we work on that it actually works. That's actually what I like.
It's not like seeing that, is it?
Yeah, it is. It's a good thing. And let's be real, I'm not gonna take credit for everything. A lot of guys that I've trained have had um some former martial arts background or were just athletic guys that had talent already. And I just kind of maybe came in and helped sharpen up some stuff and clean up some stuff. And there was a lot of guys that I built that and I don't want to say built because that kind of sounds, but as far as like build them as far as a fighter wise, when they didn't have no knowledge at all. Let's say this, guys that came to my gym and had no knowledge at all of fighting. And I was able to, now those guys are real, those guys, it's a special deal with those guys because when they come in your gym and they're empty and know nothing, and you're able to show them from the ground up these things and to see it all come into play and for them to become great fighters. Now that's something that I take dignity in on that level.
Okay. Speaking of dignity and things like that, man, what's like some of the one of the happiest or biggest moments for you as a coach? What
Um, there's a couple moments. Um, one training James Vick, getting him in the UFC Ultimate Fighter and in the UFC.
I didn't. That's. I was gonna say that's something I didn't know. I didn't know you were affiliated with James Vick at all, man.
Yeah, I was I'm James Vick's first martial arts coach and head trainer for years.
Okay.
You don't hear about it a lot because he doesn't say it or speak on it, but I got him in like 2007 when really nobody really wanted to train him, and I groomed him. He had an amateur boxing background before me, and I groomed him. I'm the one that got him his amateur um, uh, Muay Thai fights, his pro kickboxing fight, and his pro MMA fights. And then we went to the Ultimate Fighter, and then I worked his corner after Ultimate Fighter, and then he went elsewhere. And I also got Shauna Dobson is another one that I trained that trained with me for years and got her there as well.
I
So
remember Shauna.
okay, so those moments, and then honestly, man, the young man Kevin, when he came, Kevin Holland, when he came to me, he was one of the ones I talked about that had he already had a pedigree. He had a kung fu background, tall, freakish, athletic dude, tough, mean. So he had all that. Before he came to me, he was already a pro fighter. Already had those things. And when he came to me about 4 or 5 years ago, he came and it wasn't hard. He had already the skill set, so we just kind of went with what he already had and fine tuned some things. And then, him coming in with his energy, and because I was with the James Vick deal, man, it kind of broke my heart. As a coach, I had my heart broken a lot of times, and so this young man came in with a new energy, a new vibe, and he had, it's kind of remind me of myself a lot when I was younger, and so it was cool. Like, first fight I had with him was when he fought a Muay Thai fight, and then after that, it kind of went from there. So that was kind of like almost like my rebirth to like wanting to coach again and feeling that vibe again, because I was kind of getting, kind of out of it. And so having him around, it was cool. And he's wild, and he's just kind of a fun character, and just, kind of had me back on my toes again. So that actually started me on this new journey of coaching. Where I'm at today, that started. You never know when God and how God will put people in your life at times, and in the times that you need, and that's what happened. So, and then in between that time, I kind of lost the drive again and got it back, and so that's where we're at now, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you began to speak on it, man. Interviewing you is such a pleasure, because like everything that I want to talk about, you kind of flowing into it already. That was
Yeah.
going to be my next question, was what are some of the difficulties you faced as a coach? You spoke on some of it already, such as losing a fighter, things like that, man. For the common fan out there who doesn't know, because we very often people don't get to, we know about fighters, we hear about fighters, you see interviews on fighters, you don't see a lot of interviews on coaches necessarily.
Amen.
And so a lot of people really don't understand what it's like to coach and some of the difficulties we as coaches face. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, man, I tell people this: if you ever want to become a coach, prepare to have your heart broken. It's happened to me many times. It's an emotional subject for me, because as a man, more than anything, I want people to win in life, not just as fighters. If I was just a coach, and that's it, then I missed a big part of what my purpose here on this earth was. And I believe in helping people better themselves in their spirituality and their life, which I believe that's the most important thing. I don't want people, I want people to become spiritual world champions more than I want them to become fighting world champions. If you become a fighting world champion along the way, that's a part of the deal, and that's an extra thing, icing on the cake. But for me, it's the thing. And I've poured my spirit into a lot of people, a lot of guys, and only to people to leave, have my heart broken. You hear a lot of stories where coaches treat fighters wrong. Yeah. I'm not that coach. There's not a coach, there's not a fighter in this world that can say that I've done them wrong or done them bad. I've done them any kind of way. And so when those things happen behind the scenes, when you're being a mentor to them, when you're the dad, the uncle, everything, you're spending your own money to go out of town for trips, you're there for them 3 o'clock in the morning, need somebody to talk to, you wrap their hands, you mentor, you coach, all those things go in part of it. And when you give people all that, and only for them to turn their back on you or go somewhere else, when you never had an argument with them, when you never did nothing wrong to them, but look out for them, those are the biggest challenges, man. And for them to go somewhere else and do that, it could be quite draining at times. And I just learned through the years, I have tough skin. I just learned through the years to not let none of that change me as a man, because I still got to do and my life. I still got to continue with my life and do right. But yeah, being a coach, there's times I want to quit. There's times, they don't see the financial things we take, as far as, my gym shut down twice. People don't know that. They shut down twice because, you let guys train for free and you try to help them out and they take advantage of you, take you for granted. And it's just so much, man, that you have to deal with as a man and as a coach and as a mentor and as a leader and as a big brother and as a dad figure, that they don't take really. And so I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I missed that last part. You say there's so much that you were saying that there's so much that other people or fighters don't take. In what way?
They don't take serious, and they take it for granted. They don't see the heart of the coach and of the man, and they just think that you're supposed to be there for them, and they don't realize that you're just you, and you're dealing with everybody else. I have family, I have children, and I have bills, and I have all this stuff too. And a lot of coaches deal with this stuff, man. They really deal with it. It's not just me; it's a lot of coaches all over the world. But I just decided this time around, when I decided to come back and take coaching serious, that I wasn't going to allow that to happen. But coaching has opened up a lot of avenues for me too, as well. Guys use coaching to open up my YouTube channel, my podcast, also me doing motivational speaking to the inner city kids, the street kids, and colleges and high schools and stuff like that. So, I'm glad that I became a coach because it's helped open up other avenues, and I'm not limited to a lot of things. And I'm gonna continue to always be a coach, whether it's in martial arts, whether it's life, and whatever it is. I'm gonna always be that. So.
All right. Did I just hear you mention you have a podcast as well?
Yeah, I do. I haven't. I've just started back. We're just now starting to get, but it's called "Fighting His Life with Coach D."
Okay.
And we started like a little over a year ago, and things started getting rough for me. My gym shut down, financial things started happening. I just couldn't focus on it, and now I'm about to start getting it back going.
Looking forward to seeing and hearing that, man. You got any episodes up anywhere where people can find, or are you?
Yeah, it is. It is. If you go subscribe to my YouTube channel, it's Fighting His Life with Coach D, and I have a lot of stuff on there from last year.
Okay. All right. Definitely. I'll check that out. Speaking of, you have a hat on. It says so. Can I see your hat for a second?
Yeah.
Lamb 4. What does that mean, man? I've seen it on several of your social media posts and things like that. But been wanting to ask you, what exactly does it stand for?
Well, when I reopened my gym, I got another business partner, and I got another business partner, and he decided it was Phalanx at first, then Lamb Striking Academy, and then I had some partners. It didn't work out. It turned into Powerhouse, and I went to Lamb 4. It was their idea for the 4 elements that we offer at the gym, which is sports recovery, martial arts, personal training, and fitness. So the 4 elements of the stuff that we offer at the gym, that's where the 4 comes from.
Wow. Okay. I never would have known, man. Thank you for that
Yeah.
info. All right. I want to pivot just a little bit. I know you're in Vegas right now. Is that correct? Big
Indeed.
fight coming up this weekend. Kevin is fighting. Who's his new opponent? Because he had a prior opponent last week.
Queen Buckley. There's a last minute fight. Yeah, because we came out here last week and we were supposed to fight, and Kevin's opponent passed out seconds, like minutes before we were supposed to go fight, so we couldn't fight. I guess it was they said it was due to irregular heartbeat, but we had sources that were saying it was because of anxiety and things like that, and irregular heartbeats and stuff like that. So, yeah, man, that's what happened. And so they promised us they'll put us on a card this week. So we left Sunday and got home, got time to spend time with my lady, my daughter, and my son. Mm-hmm. And then Monday night, I had a confirmation of a plane ticket. It was coming back, and we got back here Tuesday. And Queen Buckley just fought on Legacy this past Friday, and he won by knockout quickly. So they put him in to step up for Kevin this Saturday here in Vegas again.
So both of these guys were basically already prepped for a fight then.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. All right. So speaking on Kevin, tell me, what do you see as a path to a title shot for Kevin? Or not even a title shot, but a title, man. A lot of people have recently become aware of Kevin. We've talked about Kevin on the show. In fact, I remember when I first told my co-host about Kevin, and we do this thing on the show called the Hype Train, and we ask each of the guys that are on the show, are you on the hype train for this fighter? And Kevin was one of those guys. And I remember, I think we had one host said, no, he wasn't on the hype train. We had another one who's our engineer you met earlier was definitely on the hype train. We've been riding that train ever since. Every time I find out that Kevin's fighting, man, I make it a point to make sure that we're watching those shows. So, but if you would tell me, what's the title path that you see for Kevin?
Man, he's talented, man. If he stays focused and stay right and keep training, keep doing what he's gonna do, I can see him fighting for a world title and winning it. I don't believe there's nobody. I don't believe there's not anybody in the 185 division that Kevin can't beat. He is very talented, strong, striking, fluid. He has the tools. He has the heart. He has the skill set. He has a mindset. He has the grit. He has everything it takes. A black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he can strike, and he can fight, and he can hit hard. So he's good on the ground. He's good standing up. As a lot of young fighters, and we hope and we know that we keep him on the right path, that he'll be fine. If he just stays on that right path, man, that guy could be a world champion. He can win a world title. That's for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. I was gonna say I remember watching one of his fights. I think it was another short notice fight. The Thiago, who was it? Thiago Moreta, Thiago Santos fight.
Thiago Santos, yeah.
Yes, man. How did that fight come about, and what did you think about that? I mean, that was one of the first times I think a lot of people really got to see Kevin on display.
Well,
And
I've been hitting up Mick Manor, which is the matchmaker of the UFC. I'm friends with him. Been friends with him for a long time. When he had Lone Star, and then when he had Legacy, we've been friends. So I hit him up. I was like, look, man, this guy's like ranked in both weight classes and outside the UFC. Like, let's give him a chance. And so he was like, okay, we'll get him on the Contender Series. So we got him on the Contender Series. He didn't get the contract, even though he won. Dana White was upset because he kept talking. That's where the name Big Mouth came from. So they didn't sign him. But after that, a fight fell through for Thiago Santos on 38-day notice, and they called us thinking that it was going to be somebody that they just bring in that was going to get beat up. Well, Kevin held his own against a monster. You're talking about a guy
yes,
who fought
did.
John Jones 5 rounds, and everybody said that a lot of people thought that the guy beat John Jones. But we went in on less than 13 days notice. We fought the guy. We did win a round. I thought it should have been a split decision because he won. We landed some shots. We hurt him. We won the second round clearly. We almost had him in a submission. We almost had him hurt on a 13-day notice, bro. And we went in there and fought that guy. And so that's what started the deal with him being in the UFC, and they gave us a contract after that.
Yeah. And how many fights has he had in the UFC since then? He's fighting pretty regularly now.
Yeah. He's fought. Let's see. I can give you exact number that he's fought. Thiago, and he's fought. This is like this should be like his 7th fight in the UFC.
Yeah, he's quickly piled up a number of fights, man. All right.
Right.
So tell us about some other fighters on your team that we should have our eyes on, man. Anybody else you got in the win coming up?
Yeah, Kevin Fernandez, one of my top students. Been training him since he was like 14. He's 20 now. Really good kickboxer, really good MMA fighter. Undefeated as a kickboxer, well, amateur. He's 2-0. Probably one of the cleanest and most sharpest students I have. I got a couple of guys. I used to have a real large stable of fighters back in the day, like 30 fighters. Glad I don't have that no more. Too much of a headache. But they're just headaches, man. I'm telling you. And so I have him, and Jose Soto is a guy that I trained, was a really good fighter on the circuit.
I know Jose. Jose actually came over to my gym one night. I invited him over. He came over for a sparring night with us one night. So yeah. I know.
Yeah,
okay.
Been training him for almost 10 years. One of my good fighters. I got a couple of them, Joel Guzman, Austin Powers. These are guys that I got coming up in the game right now, So I like them. I like it where it's more quality versus quantity. So I don't like having a bunch of stable of fighters. I like to have a couple of guys to have that I can work with that are going to listen to me and do right. And that's what we have right now, man.
The kid you first mentioned, Kevin Fernandez.
Oh yeah, he's great.
How old is he?
He's only 20 years old. He's been training with me since he was 14.
I want to say I think I've seen him somewhere before fighting. He's
XKO. He fought one of Saxon's guys. Actually, just fought one of Saxon's main guys that was undefeated, and we smoked him. His last fight, it was in February.
Okay, all right. I'll keep an eye out for him, definitely, man.
Yeah.
All right. Where do I want to go to next? Outside of your team, tell us a fighter you got your eye on as far as someone who you like.
Israel Adesanya.
Someone that's also in Kevin's weight class division too.
Yeah, I like him.
Right.
I believe Kevin can beat him as well. But I like Israel. I like his style of kickboxing. I like clean strikers. I like Conor McGregor a lot. I like the way they fight. I like these clean strikers, man. I love these kind of strikers. I just love guys that are clean and sharp and fluid and good with their hands and their feet. Those are the kind of guys that I look at. In MMA, I'm very hard critic on striking in MMA, especially in MMA. So I'm not impressed by a lot of the striking, but when I see it and I recognize it, it's good. Boxing wise, love Earl Spence, big Earl Spence fan. That's who I love. I've been knowing Earl since he was 15 years old. He would come to my gym and spar my pro fighters when he was getting ready for the Olympics. So I've been knowing him for a while. Love the way he fight. Real clean, basic, simple. I love that. I like Shakur Stevenson. I'm got my eyes on Ryan Garcia as far as the boxing goes and all that stuff. So um, that's where I'm at with it, man. That's
Any
what,
any Muay Thai fighters that you particularly like?
excuse me.
Any Muay Thai fighters that you particularly like?
Um, Man, I need to start watching more Muay Thai lately, man. But I like Joe Sheldon is his name.
Yep,
I
Joe
like
Schilling.
Nikki Holston.
Yep, I know Nikki as
Like
well.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like him. Weird enough, I like Raymond Daniels. If you know he's weird, and I love Raymond Daniels' style. I like that weird style. I like Raymond Daniels a lot. Um, a lot. Oh, another one of my fighters you need to look out for is Turbo.
Turbo.
Turbo's undefeated with me as a kickboxer. Asian guy, he's fought for his kill. He has his own school now too, but originally from California, but trained with me. I like him too. But yeah, kickboxing wise, I like Nicky. I like Raymond Daniels. I like Shielding. I like those guys, man.
Okay.
I
All
want to
right.
start looking more at it. I used to watch kickboxing all the time, the old school guys. I'm a Peter Sugarfoot Cunningham fan. Dennis Alexio, those guys. I'm a big fan of those old school kickboxers like that. So
I'm gonna have to shoot you some fights there, man. I like to watch a lot of Muay Thai fights, especially Golden Era fights, man. So some of the older
yeah,
fighters, I really enjoy watching those, man.
me too.
So next up that I want to talk about was the sport in general in itself, man. What do you think about the current state of judging in MMA? I know we've seen a lot of fights here recently where either judging and or refereeing has really played a key factor in affecting the outcome of the fight. And as you well know, especially in the UFC, this affects fighters' pay. This is how these men get paid, and half of their pay can be taken away at the discretion of either a judge and or a referee. Can you
Right.
give us a little insight into your mind about what do you think about the current state of affairs of judging and refereeing?
I don't like it. I think that what they need to do is get guys, and we'll say it in a nutshell here. I think the guys just need to have more people that's had experience in fighting to be judges. A
Okay.
lot of these guys are older people that know nothing really about fighting. They learn a system, what they was taught. And so sometimes judges don't even pay attention to fight. Sometimes they're looking off, doing this. They don't really know what they're looking at. And so we need more former fighters. I believe former old school fighters or recent retired fighters or guys like that, or people that's been in a fight game, coaches, trainers, promoters. I think these guys need to be the judges now.
Yeah. Absolutely, I totally agree with you, man. I know when I first spoke to you, I said we were looking at talking about an hour. We've been running up on an hour now. You still have a little time left. I got a few more questions for you if you have time, but if not, we can go ahead and start to close this out. I didn't know what your schedule was like.
Yeah, I got something to do in a minute, but you can give me a few more questions, man. I'm with it, bro.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Let me. So one of the things that also I want to talk to you about, because I know you're a man of many hats. You know, you're a father, you're a fighter, you're a coach, things like that. I want to talk to you about some of the current affairs going on, man. Number one, police brutality against Black people, man. I just wanted to get a vibe from you on that. If you felt like talking about it, if not, we can move on to the next subject. But it's something that's really been in the news here lately, and I was
Yeah.
really interested in hearing from you as a fellow Black man, as a fellow Black coach, what your thoughts are on it. And then also as someone who's in the combat sports world.
Um, it's been going on since the beginning of time. As far as the way they've treated Black people, particularly Black males. It's nothing new, unfortunately for me. Unfortunately, it doesn't surprise me what's going on. It's been going on like this for years. It's going to continue going on, and the system was built to do that. What I believe is that with these police officers, they train them poorly on purpose so that they do have to do police brutality. So they do have to use their guns. If they had a system to where they taught police real martial arts, real communicational skills, then none of these things would happen. But the problem is they don't want that to happen because they want to continue to keep the thing going of the evil cycle that's been going on in this world since day one. And I've dealt with police brutality. I grew up in the streets. Well, I hung out in the streets. I was gang affiliated when I was a young man and dealt with a lot of those things. So I dealt with the jail system and the probation system, parole system, and I've dealt with police and stuff like that. So I know firsthand how it is. And so I believe that that's what it is. It's going to be like that. I'd say to my brothers out there is that you stay strong in how you are. You stay strong in how you believe in as a man and have your spiritual faith, and you be strong and you be aware and you be awoke, and these things won't happen to you as much as it does to anybody else. But it's very much of a problem. It's very much of a situation. It's been like that since the beginning of time. Through slavery days was like that, and fast forward to now. This is the way they've been treating us black males, and it's the way they think of us, the way they treat us. Because I believe that a lot of black males are strong individuals, and they want to make us believe that we're not strong and that we're not smart and we're not nothing, and they treat us like animals and they treat us like dogs, and that's not what we are. But I'm here to stand and let everybody know that you can't treat this black man like that, because I'm a very powerful man in my spirit, in my mind. I'm strong, and there's a little ass body of mine. There's a lot of power, and a lot of strength, and a lot of meditation, and a lot of faith in my mind. And I won't allow nobody to undermine me or make me believe that I'm stupid, that I'm not wise. But I am very intelligent, and I made myself to be intelligent, and I wasn't going to be a statistic, and I wasn't going to be a victim, and I wasn't going to let nobody do me like that. And I'm going to stand up for my guys, and I'm going to teach my guys that are up under me or around me to be strong, to be faithful, and to work hard, and to have the things that you deserve in this life, because we do deserve to have those things. But yes, it is a problem, and it's going to continue to be a problem because they want it to be a problem. If people believe that, police brutality is going anywhere soon, then they're sadly mistaken. They're going to keep it going and keep it going because that's what they want to happen, and it's going to continue to happen until the end of time.
Wow, man. Thank you for that. Last two questions for you, Durwyn. One for me personally, man. Any advice to me as a new up and coming coach, man? Any advice you can give me? Things that potholes you can help me miss or anything like that?
Yeah. Always look out for you, man, and don't lose yourself. A lot of times as coaches, we lose ourselves to other people. Keep yourself first, God first, and your family first. And we have to learn how to keep a balance where we have to attach ourselves in a loving and spiritual way. We have to detach ourselves in a way too, where that we don't lose ourselves with these guys, because there are going to be times where you'll get close with these guys, and then you thought y'all close and they'll break your heart. And just to do it out of the love of it, and know that if somebody does things wrong against you, that it will also come back to you in a good way. As long as you're doing the things and you're coaching for the right things in the right way and the right reasons, that you will be successful regardless what anybody leaves or what anybody does to you. But the main thing is that we don't lose ourselves in the process, and we don't allow nobody to lose our dignity and our humanity as a man, no matter who they are, as a fighter. That we love them and we care for them, but that we don't love them so much that we stop loving ourselves, and that they don't do things to you to where you lose yourself or take you out of your character or your spiritual or your natural habitat.
All right. What can we expect to see from Coach D in the future, man? Last question. I'll put you out on that one.
Well, motivational speaking. I'm gonna be doing documentaries, working on this stuff right now. I'm gonna be writing books. I got a couple of books that's gonna be starting to write an autobiography about my life, and I'm gonna do a book about coaching, the good, the bad, the ugly, and combat sports coaching. You will see me traveling the United States and the world, and motivational speaking and mentorship through inner city kids and all those things. And hopefully open up another gym one day soon and focus on my gym and my business as I've been doing and those things. But the main thing is speaking, teaching, mentoring, and writing books and poems and things like that.
All right. Well, Durwyn, again, man, I really want to thank you for your time today. It has been a pleasure and an honor to converse with you, man. Please give Kevin our best wishes, man. We're pulling for you guys, cheering you on from Texas. I think I speak for everybody here at Combat Sports. We can't wait to see him compete on Saturday night, man. Can't wait to see you coaching as well. So, again, I want to thank you for your time today. It's been a pleasure and an honor, bruh.
It's been a pleasure and honor with you guys too, fellas. Thank you very much.
All right.